Friday. Good afternoon. I hope you're well. So I'm on the sofa today with Benji. He's keeping me company, and we're on the electric blanket, keeping warm. So how are you? I hope you are well. So this is going to be a short live today because I'm back at work at 4 o'clock. So it's going to just be a really short one. Benji's trying to eat my arm. So Benji, stop it. So yeah, I hope you're well. I hope you're having a good afternoon and a good day. So today I'm going to talk very specifically about a really good question that I was asked. And I was asked about the weight loss journey whilst living with chronic illnesses. And I thought this was such a good question because chronic illness is something that I live with. I'm type 2 diabetic. I also live with SLE, lupus, systemic lupus, which affects my internal organs, my heart and my lungs. It affects my joints as well, and I also have osteoarthritis, which is why I'm under my blanket keeping warm today, because it affects all of my joints, from my hands, my knees, my hips, my feet. And as a result of that, I also suffer with bursitis in my hip and fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. So yeah, I suffer with a lot of chronic illnesses, and despite that, I've lost 114 pounds to date. I'm also postmenopausal. So there's a lot of things that you know, people, women, that we all have to deal with on the weight loss journey. So when I was asked about covering the topic, I thought, brilliant, absolutely brilliant topic. And so that's what I'm going to cover today. So where do I start with this? Well, so I rejoined the Weight Watchers plan 5 years ago on the 8th of August 2019. But my journey was started many years before that. So I was diagnosed with SLE. We're talking about about a good 20 years ago. I was diagnosed with SLE, lupus, and up until then I did suffer with a lot of arthritic pains. At one point I was being tested for rheumatoid arthritis, and it turned out I didn't have it, but it later transpired that I was suffering with lupus. And then after that, all my health conditions just snowballed, because we're not just living in isolation, we are one. So lupus has a knock-on effect on the joints, and then it has a knock-on effect on my tiredness. It has a knock-on effect on my mental health. It's, we're not in isolation, everything has a knock-on effect. So when I was diagnosed with my chronic health condition, lupus being my main condition, I was very, very poorly. And in order to help me get better, I was on treatment, lots of medication, including steroids. And as a result of the steroids, I gained a lot of weight, which I now realise that it wasn't so much the steroids that had made me gain weight. It was the steroids increased my appetite, and I didn't have the control or the understanding or the knowledge about how to manage that, which is really interesting, because I was always told, you'll gain weight with steroids. Well, you gain weight because my increased appetite, I had an increased appetite, and I had to learn how to manage the increased appetite with healthy foods and still to manage my portions, but that's a topic for another time. So so my journey around managing my health started way before joining the Weight Watchers plan, which I think is really important, because up until I joined Weight Watchers, I was using medication as a source of treatment to help me manage my condition. And I got to the point where my health condition was under control. But by that time, I'd gained 10 stone. I'd gained a lot of weight, partly through medication, but also poor eating habits and not understanding anything about nutrition. So when I rejoined Weight Watchers for the final time in 2019, I was the heaviest I'd ever been. But I was also, I'd been severely ill, critically ill, and was starting to recover and started to improve. And the one thing that I learned on my journey with Weight Watchers, see, when I started Weight Watchers, I thought I was on a journey to lose weight. But over a couple of months, I realized actually that's not quite right. I realized that I'm on a journey to improve my health, because I realized that if I just focused on weight loss, that could become really challenging. That could be really tough. After all, I had 10 stone to lose. That is no mean feat. 10 stone, 140 pounds. So, and then my other realization was that if I just focus on weight loss, not only is that hard, but I don't ever want to get to a point where I've lost weight and I'm still unhealthy, I'm still ill, I'm still sick. I didn't want that. Because people who are, there are still people, because what I realized was that being at a goal weight and losing weight doesn't necessarily equate to healthy. And you have some people who are at their goal weight and are at a healthy weight, but they're still unhealthy. And I realized that the two doesn't always fit together. So when I rejoined Weight Watchers, initially, my focus was all about losing the weight. And then I realized, no, it has to be more than that. If this is going to be a long-term plan for me and a lifestyle, it has to be way more than losing weight. This had to be a lifestyle change for me that was going to help me improve my health. So when I started looking at it like that, it was very different to my journey previously. My previous journeys in and out of Weight Watchers was always about losing weight. Got to get this stone off, got to get this half a stone off, got to get this 2 stone off. That was my focus. But this time around, because I'd come so close to losing my health, and when I say that, I'm not even being dramatic. When I say I nearly lost my health, I mean lying in a hospital bed and the doctor and the consultant saying to me that if I hadn't come in to see them, if I hadn't gone to the doctor and the doctor hadn't referred me to the hospital, he said within 2 or 3 weeks I would have had a massive heart attack and I would have been dead. It's as simple as that. He said you would have been dead. He said, in fact, his words were, you would have been dead before you hit the ground. So I'm not being dramatic when I say it was a life and death situation for me. So thinking about that and knowing how I have really suffered, and again I say suffer not to be dramatic, if you live with chronic health conditions you'll understand what I mean. There's been days that I've not even been able to get out of bed, never mind get downstairs. I remember the days I used to, when I was recovering, I used to get out of bed and into the shower and I couldn't get out of the shower, and my partner had to come and literally help me out of the shower, get me dressed and get me back into bed. I was that poorly. And then I couldn't get downstairs, and if I did I couldn't get back up the stairs. I just didn't have the energy to do it. And then I couldn't even, as I started to improve, I couldn't even go for a walk. I live in a grove and I couldn't even walk to the end of the grove, never mind go for a walk around the block. And that was around the fatigue, the tiredness, the pain, just the being mentally and physically exhausted. Living with chronic illness is hard. It is hard. It is tough. It can rob you of who you are and the person that you want to be. So for me, I had to learn to think about the journey as one to improve my health rather than to lose weight. Because if I was just going to focus in on losing weight, for me that was like pushing a steel ball up a hill. That's hard. That's hard. Whereas when I switched my focus and thought about I need to improve my health, it was very different. So, and I'll explain why it's different. When I was on previous journeys trying to lose weight, the diet mentality would kick in and I'd be like, well, I can only eat, I should, eat so many calories, or I should only eat this level of this portion, or obsessing with the scales and obsessing about overeating, obsessing with my points, obsessing about can I eat this, can I eat that. That for me was diet culture. And whilst Weight Watchers say it's not a diet, it's very easy to live it as a diet when we start obsessing about the scales and our points and what we can and can't eat, etc. And I had to switch my mindset from that to thinking I need to focus on my health. I need to improve my health. And when I started thinking about I'm on this journey to improve my health rather than I'm on this journey to lose weight, it's very different. For me anyway, it was very different. So I started researching what foods I needed to eat to support my lupus. SLE was my main condition. Excuse me whilst I have a sip. I started to think about what foods I needed to improve my condition. I've got the cat here. This is Benji. I needed to think about what foods I needed to improve my lupus, because let me tell you, I was honestly, I was so ill. I was so ill. And my doctor said, and my consultant said to me, he said, you need to respect your condition. You need to respect your body and respect your illness. Otherwise, you ain't going to win. It's going to take you out. So I started to think about what foods can support my body and help my body heal from my chronic illness. And one of the things that I discovered, and this actually set me on a whole different trajectory, I started to discover that for me, suffering with lupus and arthritis, nightshade products, nightshade foods could be a trigger. So that was things like tomatoes. And at the start of my journey, I couldn't eat tomatoes. It would trigger me. And I used to think that's so interesting that certain foods can have this reaction in my body. So for a long time, I avoided them. I'm okay with them now because everything is settled. But then I started to think about, okay, well, what foods do I need to eat to improve my health? And at this point, the concept of I need to lose weight, I want to lose a weight, I want to lose a pound this week, whatever, I want to get gone completely out the window. It was still at the back of my mind, but what was important was, what do I need to eat and what do I need to do to improve my health? What do I need to eat to be able to get out of bed, to be able to stand up and just live an existence outside of my bedroom? And my partner at the time was doing this research with me as well. And we started juicing vegetables, pomegranates, kale and ginger and lemons and limes and all of that good stuff. Started juicing them. And as I was drinking these juices, started to feel better. And I'm not endorsing that for anybody, but I started to feel better. I started to feel more energy and more energized. And then realized actually there were foods that actually can improve my health. And this started me off on this whole journey, started researching, because what I realized, and I often say this, not all food is equal. Not all food is equal. And in fact, there's a lot of things that are being called food that is actually poison. And it's poisoning our bodies and it's making us sick. And these things should not ever be allowed anywhere near us. So, and everybody makes a personal choice. And this is what I discovered for me. So I started on this journey of researching my health condition and the type of foods that are going to support me and my body. Started to realize that I needed protein. I needed carbohydrates, but not simple carbohydrates. My body did not need simple carbohydrates. Simple carbohydrates are the things like the crisps, the biscuits, the chocolates, the sweets, the things that taste good. But my body doesn't need it. What my body needed was complex carbs, the carbohydrates from fruits and vegetables and whole grain. So I started to learn about these foods and started to make changes slowly and gradually, started to make change. And as I started to make changes and started to cut out, and I say cut out, I haven't cut everything out completely. That would be a lie if I said that. I still have, crisps and chocolates and sweets and toffees, but nowhere near as much as I used to have. And when I started to reduce those things, and I call them crap, and when I call them crap, I'm not being facetious. Crap is actually an acronym. C stands for carbonated drinks. The R stands for refined sugars that you get in the cakes and the biscuits and the sweets. The A stands for all the additives that we have in foods. And that, honestly, that's another topic, and I'm going to do some videos about incredible, even like in grated cheese. You know, you buy grated cheese. Do you know what they add in grated cheese to stop it from clumping? If you knew this, you would never buy grated cheese again. Never. So that's additives. And then the P is like the processed foods, the ultra processed foods. So that's what CRAP stands for. It's not, I'm not being cheeky, I'm not being facetious, it is an acronym. So I started reducing the crap. And when I started to do that and fill my day with good quality foods, and good quality doesn't have to be expensive, but good quality foods, good quality nutrition, the protein, the fiber, the quality fats, I started to see an improvement. I started to see an improvement in my health, in my energy levels. The tiredness started to go. I had more energy. I was more vibrant. I started to get back to my old me. And what I'd realized was when I was eating the crap, all this ultra processed food, that was actually not just suppressing me, but as a person, but suppressing my immune system, suppressing my body, and it was making me and keeping me sick. So, you know, I started on this journey of learning about the foods that were going to support me and my body, and I started incorporating them, started reducing all the ready meals, all the takeaways. I can't remember the last time I had a takeaway. I might occasionally have some fish and chips, but I can't remember the last time I'd done that. But stopped doing that. Well, I used to live on takeaways, you know, sometimes 2-3 times a week I used to have takeaways, order it, and I stopped doing that. I started meal prepping and then batch cooking when I could. And when I did, I would cook up a lot, because there were times that I didn't have the energy to stand in the kitchen and cook. So when I did have the energy, I would just cook loads of meals and loads of simple things like soups, and cook up baked potatoes and freeze them, things like that, things that would really help me. And when I started filling my body with good nutrition, quality nutrition, a couple of things happened. One, I noticed I had the energy. My energy started to come back, and therefore my symptoms of chronic fatigue started to reduce. Then I'd noticed that because I had more energy, I could do a little bit of exercise, even if it was just started doing Leslie Sanson and Rick Buller, started doing those at home when I could. I started moving, my fibromyalgia started to ease. Now, I'm not saying that those conditions have gone away, but it started to ease. And then I would start getting rid of the ultra processed foods. Because I was eating better quality and moving more, my diabetes started to get better controlled. And then my lupus started to get managed. So my health started to improve. But also, oh, hi Jackie, hello my lovely, great to have you with us today. And as a result of my health improving, because I was eating well, weight loss happened. Weight loss happened. So the question that I was asked today, or I was asked yesterday, was how do you lose weight on the weight loss journey when you live with chronic illnesses? And that's how That's how I did it. That's how I have lost 114 pounds to date whilst living with chronic illnesses and chronic disease. Lupus SLE that affects my heart, my lungs and all my joints. Type 2 diabetes, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, bursitis. Those are my main ones. I do have a few other conditions, but those are my main ones. So please don't ever think that because you have chronic illnesses, you can't lose weight. You absolutely can. But for me, and for me alone, the focus was not focusing on, oh, Jackie, your mum had lupus. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. It can be a devastating illness. Devastating. It devastated my life. Absolutely devastated my life. And my life, before I was diagnosed to my life now, it's completely different. I had a senior job. I was a HR director, very senior in my company. Couldn't do that job anymore. Just couldn't. It was just too much for me. Yeah, my entire life changed. I even bought a wheelchair. I have a wheelchair out in the shed because I was that poorly. That was my future. That was what I was looking at. It's devastating. So I say, I'm not being dramatic when I say I was really, really ill. So for me, the focus was focusing on improving my health. And I had to go back to the foods that I was putting in my body, and I discovered that a lot of those foods, especially ultra processed, ultra refined foods, was not helping me. It was causing me more damage. It was suppressing my immune system, making me ill and keeping me ill. Excuse me. So I had to learn, and do you know what? It's a whole journey. And whilst I absolutely love the Weight Watchers plan, you know what I'm going to say, because I've said it many times. The concept of nothing is off the table, is just too wide. And I understand why they do that, because they don't want to be prescriptive, and it allows for different cultural foods and different circumstances and situations in life. I get that. But if there's one thing I would change if I was in charge of Weight Watchers, is to give a lot more structure to nutrition. Weight Watchers is based on behavioral science. They don't provide nutritional science, and I wish they did. And I think that if I had, and I can only speak for myself, if I had a lot more nutritional guidance. Hi Esther, hello my lovely. If I had a lot more nutritional guidance, I would have learned more about nutrition and the foods that support me and my body a lot earlier. But hey, you know, that didn't happen. And Weight Watchers has taught me an awful lot about food, about my portion sizes. I had to go elsewhere to learn about the nutrition that I needed for my body. And when I started putting that nutrition in to my body, focusing on whole foods, focusing on the foods that were going to sustain good health. Hello, Frugal Mama. Great to have you with us today. When I started to focus on the foods that were going to support good health, foods around, you know, getting the magnesium in. That was going to help me around menopause. Nobody ever told me that we need magnesium to support with menopause and the menopause symptoms. Didn't know that. Didn't know about the omegas. The omega-3, the fatty acids to help with good joints, to ease the joint pains. When I was going to my doctor, he was just going, here we go, have some steroids, have some medication, have some metformin, have some, you know, azathioprine, you know, have pioglitazone, you know, have all of these medications. Nobody was saying, look at your diet, look at what you're eating, get rid of all the sugars, the refined sugars, get rid of all the processed foods, ditch all of that carbonated drinks. They're poison. Nobody was saying that. So when I went on this journey of discovery and I started learning about all of these foods that were making and keeping me sick, and started including foods, the whole foods, learning to cook from scratch again, because that was the other thing. I was so unwell, I didn't have the energy to cook. But when I could, and I started including all of these things, not only did my energy levels improve, not only did I start to get better, but I saw weight loss because I was ditching the CRAP, ditching the crap. So the question was, weight loss whilst living with chronic illness. It's absolutely possible. But what I would say is, don't take that broad road that Weight Watchers encourages you to have whatever you want. As long as you stay within your points, have whatever you want. That's too broad if you're living with chronic illness. If you're living with chronic illness, do some research around your health condition and find out what are the foods that are going to support you. What are the foods that you need to get into your body? What are the macronutrients? What are the minerals? The tryptophan, the selenium, the phosphorus, the phosphates, the vitamin E, the vitamin B, all of those, the vitamin A, all of those things. What are those things that your body needs to get your health condition under control? And when you start to nourish your body and to feed your body with good quality food, getting rid of the crap that keeps our immune system suppressed and keep us low, because you're chucking out all of that crap, you'll notice a couple of things like I did. My light is going. Please excuse me whilst I put the light on. Got stretched to do this. Excuse me whilst I get up. That's the disadvantage when I'm doing it live, is that I can't cut anything. It's everything's on display. Excuse me. There we go. There we go. That's a little bit better. I've got 5 more minutes with you guys, and then I've got to get to work. So I'm with my cat. This is Benji, and we're under the blanket today because yeah, I'm not feeling brilliant. Again, chronic illness. So when you start nourishing your body with a couple of things, with good quality food, a couple of things will happen. And this is me from my perspective, because yeah, that's my new cat Benji. He's been with me 10 days. Yeah, it's very mischievous. He's absolutely gorgeous though. Couple of things will happen. One, oh, here he is, Benji. A couple of things will happen. One, you'll start to feel better because you're nourishing your body. 2, you'll start to have more energy because you're dumping all the rubbish. Yeah, all the foods that the companies, marketing companies are selling to us as nutritious. Ditch that. Yeah. 3, you'll start to feel better. You'll start to see your energy levels coming back. You'll feel more confident about yourself and your journey because you're nourishing. We are what we eat, is the best way to say it. We are what we eat. Oh, I've got powder all down my front. Let's just cover that back up. We really are what we eat. If you put crap in, you're going to feel like crap. If you put good quality food in, you're going to feel good. Okay? We are what we eat. And then, here's my little secret. And this is for me, and this is no medical advice intended here. I'm not giving you, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor. Okay? I still have a little bit of ultra processed foods. I'm not going to lie. I still enjoy biscuit and I still enjoy toffees. I still enjoy crisps. I'd say I'm at least 80 to 90% of gone. Yeah, honestly, 80 to 90% is gone compared to what I used to eat. I used to practically live on it. Because I didn't have the energy to cook, didn't have the inclination to cook. So it used to be a lot of burgers and chips and takeaways, pizzas, anything I could throw in the oven was what I lived on. So when I got rid of all of that stuff and started eating whole food and cooking from scratch, and I know not everybody can cook from scratch, not everybody can cook, and I accept that. But when I started doing that, a couple of things happened. Not only did I get my energy back, not only did my blood results start to improve, not only did I start to feel good and I gained my confidence back, not only did my skin start to glow, not only did I feel more energized and energetic, not only could I flip over in bed without having to hold on to the sides, not only did I start to lose weight, but as you know, I don't track. And for me, that allowed me to stop tracking, which was a burden for me. And I know everybody's different. Some people find it useful, some people enjoy it, etc. Go with what works for you. But for me, it allowed me to stop tracking because I didn't need to track the foods that I needed to limit. I didn't need to track the crap. You know, the sugars, the ultra processed foods, didn't need to track those because eating fruits and vegetables and good quality protein is not going to make you fat. That's not going to make you fat, guys. What makes us fat is the sugars, the refined sugars, the ultra processed foods, the foods that are laden with fats and salts and sugars. That is what makes us fat. That is what makes us put on weight or find it hard to lose weight. When we're eating foods that grow naturally, when we eat good quality protein and it's cooked in a healthy way, that is not going to make you fat. I defy anybody to tell me anything different. Yeah, when you look at you know, people of our parents' generation and the generation before, they didn't have ultra processed foods and they didn't have weight problem. They grew their vegetables, or they bought their vegetables, they cooked it, and it was meat and 2 veg was their meal. Yeah, maybe porridge and oats for breakfast with some fruit. Yeah, lunch was a sandwich, and that was it. But these days, what's crept in is the chocolates, the sweets, the biscuits, the cakes, the takeaways, you know, those bars that tell you you're going to be skinny, those syrups that tell you you're going to be skinny. All of these things make us ill. They make us put on weight, and those are the foods that we need to keep track of. So yeah, absolutely track those foods. If those are the foods that you want to eat, absolutely track them. But when I started to reduce those, and that's why I said I'm about 80 to 90%, I don't eat those foods. But when I'm having my fruits, my veggies, you know, all those, the good quality proteins, the good quality carbs and the fats, for me, weight loss happened. And I've stopped tracking since September, and I've lost a stone, 14 pounds, since I've stopped tracking. And that is what having good quality food does for me. And that is how I have continued to lose weight despite living with chronic conditions. And, you know, I'm sat here on the sofa. I'm not usually, I'm in my kitchen, but I'm sat on the sofa. I've got my electric blanket because I'm a bit poorly today. You know, my arthritis is really bad. I've just ordered some splints, some hand splints and some feet splints. Yesterday, yeah. I'm really poorly at the moment, and that's why I'm sat here as opposed to in the kitchen. But yeah, good quality food. It's going to nourish our bodies, and that is what helps us to lose weight. Reduce the crap. I'm not saying get rid of it altogether, but reduce it as much as possible. So guys, there we go. That is, I hope that answers the question. Really fantastic couple of questions I've had. I had one about dealing with my sugar cravings, and this is another question about living with chronic illness and losing weight. If you have a question that you want me to answer, as I say, I will answer it from my journey, from my perspective. Let me know. I'd love to have this conversation. So any questions you have about the weight loss journey, do let me know. Anyway, guys, I hope that was useful. Do let me know. What are your thoughts? What do you think? Yeah, drop your comments below, and I will definitely go in and read them. Anyway, guys, listen, I've got to get to work soon. Take care, Frugal Mama. I'll see you soon. Bye, Jackie. Take care, Esther. See you soon. Bye. I've got to get this thing off now. See you guys.